democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Yeah. Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
Hello, everyone. See after me. At school, I am a proud student.
At school, I am a proud student.
I attend clubs, I work hard, and I try my best to succeed.
I attend class, I try hard.
Teachers have been with me, helping me to achieve goals.
Teachers have been with me, helping me to achieve goals.
That is what a good education feels like.
That is what a good education feels like.
But now, our education system is getting worse and worse every year.
Now our education system is getting worse and worse every year.
I remember each class had 21 kids back when I was in kindergarten. There are now over 32 per class in high school. And with the demand for public education increasing every year, it becomes harder for teachers to manage classes. What the government has done was the biggest joke of my life! Are you serious? Tearing up contracts at a time of struggle for quality education. Passing a bill that prevents teachers from speaking out against the government. What kind of a democracy is this? Teachers have worked hard and they teach because they want us to learn. If the provincial government is doing this to our teachers, I say it's pure disrespect to the value of teaching. Teachers are striking because they want us to learn in a better education system. One that keeps class sizes to a minimum. One that can provide necessary support to special needs kids. And finally, one where they do not have to struggle to keep up with kids. We are the students, teachers, and professors of British Columbia, and we have a voice in our education. We are fighting for the right of education, and we will not give up this fight until Bill 22 is scrapped and the rights of students and teachers are met. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Vive la Revolution!
The sun has come out for us. It's a beautiful day for revolution.
This is what democracy looks like.
I thank everyone for being out here with us.
And a Brophy SFU communications professor and awesome guy.
Hello everyone. I want to thank the organizers of this excellent event. I hope this is the beginning of a series of events. I think we should keep on coming back here until we get the public post-secondary education system that we deserve in this province. I want to offer you my perspective as a person who went through that public post-secondary education system as an undergrad student in the 1990s, and now I teach as a professor in that system 15 years later. I went through that system. I remember going into my first course, my first 100 level course in the School of Communication in which I now teach. And I remember feeling that it was very anonymous, impersonal, and large. There were 80 students in that course. These days I teach that course. Guess how many students they've crammed into that course 15 years later? 360 students in that course. As a friend of mine said, that's not pedagogy, it's crowd control. I think that's intolerable. It's intolerable because guess what else has also gone up by a factor of almost 4? Tuition in this province has gone up almost 4 times since the 1990s. It's unconscionable. So what's happened in this province? Can we not afford a public post-secondary education system? No, we actually produce more wealth in this province than we ever have before.
That's right.
So what's happening in this province? Our government, the corporate elite, and the wealthy don't want a public post-secondary education system. That's what neoliberalization is, death by 1,000 cuts. The wealthiest people are off the hook for funding our system. Student debt is skyrocketing. Canadian students owe $15 billion. The provincial government has decided that international students are cash cows. They want other countries to fund our public post-secondary education system. They don't want to fund it autonomously ourselves. They've decided to underpay academic workers on campus. When they've invested in the university, they've invested in buildings, but not in people. Shame on you, BC Liberals. Well, we're here today to remind our government, the corporate elite in this province, the 1%, that we expect you to fund a fully public university system in British Columbia. We're here to remind them that we won't accept corporations slapping their logos on our universities. That we won't accept attacks on unionized workers on our campuses. That keeping workers in a state of permanent insecure employment is not good enough. That students are not widgets in their education factory. That we won't accept a life of debt. We're here to remind the elite that we can see through their trickle-down educational funding. We're here to remind the BC Liberals that we won't accept the theft of our education system. And we stand with students and academic workers across the world, in California, in Wisconsin, in Chile, in Puerto Rico, in North Africa, across the Middle East, in Italy, in the United Kingdom, in Ireland, in Greece, and in Spain. We stand with students in the US who have launched a movement for a mass default on their student debts. We stand with them. And more recently, in Quebec, students and education workers are taking a stand. Do you know that our national newspaper of record, the Globe and Mail, do you know how they responded to the struggles in Quebec? They said, you guys need to sit down and shut up because your tuition is one of the lowest in Canada. That's what they said to them. So what do we say to them? First of all, the reason why their tuition is one of the lowest in Canada is because they do exactly what they do. That's why it's one of the lowest in Canada. Second, we say to them that education is not a privilege, it's a right, and it should be free in this country. And thirdly, we say to them that it's a right that we fought for before, and it's a right that we will continue to fight for. Thank you very much. Let's make this the beginning of something.
It's Jordan from the Filipino-Canadian Youth Alliance.
I'm Jordan, member of the Filipino-Canadian Youth Alliance, underneath the umbrella organization, the Kalayaan Center. We stand in solidarity with students, teachers, professors, and teachers' assistants in defense of public education. We firmly believe that high-quality education is a universal right for all, and we refuse to be pacified by student debt. Despite being the third largest minority group in Canada, Filipino youth are faced with racist systemic barriers limiting access to resources in Canada, including high tuition fees. Education obtained in the Philippines is not recognized, pushing college students back to high school. There are few public services that integrate Filipinos successfully while being culturally sensitive to the realities of struggles of migration. In In the case of Filipino nannies entering Canada through live-in caregiver program, reunification with their families often occurs 5 to 15 years later after being separated. Depression and anxiety are prevalent in the Filipino community due to this separation and isolation. And also, because of meager earnings and unrecognized qualifications by the Canadian state, poverty is among first-generation Filipinos permeates into future generations. Yes, sir. Permeates into future generations to create a legacy of poverty. As a result, Filipino youth are overrepresented in escalating high school and post-secondary dropout rates, low-income communities, and service sector jobs. Second-generation youth fare no better. It doesn't matter whether you're born here or not. We're being denied an education, and this is not acceptable. Filipinos, along with Aboriginals, are among the top in the dropout rate in Canada. Through experiences with my peers, I found that a vast majority of us learn through peer-to-peer discussion and hands-on experience, rather than through the education system. So what does that say about the system today?
It's broken!
The system is flawed, churning out more and more disillusioned youth, with those who make it to post-secondary education finding themselves ill-equipped to meet the demands of academia. Despite this, the Canadian state continues to cut funding to education, crippling support to the youth who need it most. We also believe that the ever-increasing tuition rates serve only to create a barrier to access to post-secondary education for all communities. We condemn the appalling lack of support and unfair treatment our community and others face in the Canadian education system, and demand that all these resources be available to all Canadian students.
So, as it seems, the government is trying to pacify us through student debt and through cutbacks to teachers' salaries, but will this pacify us?
No!
Do we refuse privatized education?
Yes!
We refuse privatized education! Repeat after me. We refuse privatized education.
We refuse privatized education.
We want to study. We don't want debt.
We want to study. We don't want debt. We want to learn without being slaves.
We want to learn without being slaves.
We demand free education.
We demand free education for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jordan. And Crystal. So we're going to have our last speaker now. It's Chris from the BC Teachers Federation.
Great, thanks. I just want to say that before I start, I want to acknowledge the territory we're on. I'm Niska. I'm not from here, so I am an immigrant to this territory as well. And I want to say my sister over there, Marge, was just telling me that Enbridge, when people were organizing for that, the very first one they had, there was just like maybe 50 people, and every meeting that was organized, it grew and grew and grew to the point where it was all out across here, all out to the sidewalk. So we got to keep this momentum going. I'm not going to go and say too much, but pretty much the speakers prior to me have outlined what's going on with public services and education. But what I want to say is that you see this T-shirt? See this T-shirt I'm wearing? Well, teachers right now are not allowed to wear these T-shirts in schools. We're not allowed, yeah, shame. It's wrong. And the other thing that we're not allowed to do is we're not allowed to congregate. We're not allowed to organize. And it's our right as teachers. It's something that we've as laborers, as unionists, that we fought hard to organize workers. And we're not allowed to do that under this Bill 22 that's got to go. And I want to say that I'm really proud of you guys, and I want to come back every weekend, and we need to bring a friend, and we have to bring somebody and come back every weekend, rain, shine, or snow. And that's it. Thanks.